I'm Tirumari. I'm 22 years old. I am a geek, and my favorite phrase that I wish I used more often is cool beans. And the interesting thing about it is that I guess I always thought I knew what I wanted to do with myself. But recently I've really gotten into my art, cartooning. Really, I can't really call myself an artist, but that's what I aim for now. That's what I do. I draw in my spare time a lot. I've been drawing for a really long time. I mean, I guess like a lot of people who draw say that, but I do remember the first thing I drew that I was really psyched about. I was 5 years old, and I saw it was one of those Valentine's Day cards that you like buy for your classmates because you're supposed to, because that's the rule. And it was Jim Carrey's The Mask. It was like a bunch of cartoons of that. And so I just looked at one of those drawings and I got a little piece of paper and then I just kind of redrew it. And then I thought to myself, my 5-year-old self, that was awesome. Whoa, what a really good mask. And yeah, I guess after that I just started drawing a lot. Yeah, Pennies took a while to get started. I think it took several months of just me coming up with ideas for the site and the site design, and essentially getting my friend to do it for me because I had no skills in Photoshop at that point. I didn't know what I was doing. And so yeah, once I started it, we started out with a bi-weekly comic, and then we switched to weekly, just depending on my schedule, because I was still doing classes at the time, and that's always a big time constraint. But it was the coolest thing when I started, because it was an amazing idea that not only was I drawing comics that I enjoyed, and then my friends were like, oh, that's really funny, you're a funny person, but I would be able to put them online, and people that I'd never met before, you know, in all sorts of regions around the world, were seeing my comic. It's a really gratifying feeling, knowing that you're reaching people that you would not have been able to reach otherwise. It's really fun to know that I'm making other people laugh, that it isn't necessarily just an inside joke between me and my friends, but it's something that I can share with other people. This is Charles. He's one of my closest friends.
Noticed I am extremely eloquent. I'm
about
a
as
man
eloquent
of many words.
as a rock, or about as talkative as the cardboard throne that I sit on. I think actually for me the most enjoyable part about being around Charles for so long, I mean, one, it is because like I've got to see emotions out of him, you know? It's like it's just he's the kind of guy where you have to spend an absurd amount of time with him to actually get to know. And so now I know all of his deep dark secrets, and let me tell you, the ones that I do know, the ones apparently that he thinks is okay to allow me to know, very terrifying. Dark corners of his mind that you don't want to see.
My name is Jess, and I'm a part-time author for Pennies. I met TJ at a GameStop, I want to say, back when they had one on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. And TJ and I don't remember how we started talking, but we just started talking about some random video game. I think I was probably playing one of the demo systems, and we just kind of kept talking, and we'd keep seeing each other there, and then we ended up hanging out outside of there, and now we're pretty good friends. Most of the comics that are involving me, like, we don't really necessarily have to sit down and think about ideas too much. It's based on actual just everyday occurrences. Like when me and him hang out, just funny things happen, and we just feel like we should share that with the world. One of my favorite comics that I was in with TJ was it was one where me and him are talking about how we need to go out and talk to girls more, and then the comic ends with us just sitting there playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you'd think that we were just sitting there, like, in our room, like, playing video games or something, but we're playing a children's card game, so, like, I think that was probably one of my favorites. It's really interesting to see myself drawn on the page. Like, it's different than, like, if somebody takes a movie of you, like, it's because it's an artist's interpretation of you. Like, there's only so much you can do with, like, you know, Final Cut or anything like that to change someone's appearance, but at the end of the day, that person's gonna look like that person. And I feel like my Penny self looks like me, but it's also almost like it's a caricature of me. Like, I like TJ's art style and the way it's got a bit of like an anime influence, and like the proportions aren't necessarily the most realistic, but I think it adds to the humor of it. TJ is he's crazy. I don't know what to say. He's like the mad scientist. Like, he's a really analytical person. He thinks of just off-the-wall things. Like, sometimes he'll just come out left field with things. Or like, yeah, he's a really just eccentric person. I think that's probably the best word to describe him, eccentric. The funniest moments. Man, they're like too many to recall. If I had to pick one, it's always a funny moment. It's like, it's just constant punchlines with us. Like, it's not even like we try it. It's just, we just kind of play off of each other, and that's how it works.
My name's Mike. I actually met TJ the morning after a party. I was recovering from a hangover, and he was in his living room. And I just kind of walked out, and he kind of stuck around after that. His first impression of me was that I was like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, because I was kind of unkept at the time, and I was just, my headache hurt far too bad for me to care. But I mean, we hang out after that, and that's how it all got started. I think it's good to see yourself in a different light, just because it's kind of absurd. And I love absurdism, but like the moments that end up in the comics, those are just like TJ and myself riffing off of random topics, or just talking about anything that's like, I don't know, anything we're like-minded about. So I mean, it's good just to see that they take on a different kind of life, and something that could make other people laugh at the same time. Normally that stuff doesn't make other people laugh. TJ's been working on Thought Pennies for a while, but I just got started with my own, it's a new site for video games. It's called Gaming Irresponsibly. And the thing about people nowadays is they don't really like reading. So if you're gonna write something, you have to make it interesting. And so we wanted to get more visual media on the site, and so we suggested creating a new comic. And so that, you know, we obviously asked TJ, because I live with him, and that's how Drawing Irresponsibly was born. And pretty much like every Wednesday we turn out a new comic, and then we brainstorm for the next one. We've got this big calendar that has like all the release dates for like all the latest games coming out, so we usually base it off of that. And so far it's doing really well.
What's the tell me the title of that?
Gaming Irresponsibly.
My name is Paula Esquadra. Interesting story. How we first met was at GameStop, because I had just been transferred there from SoCal for school. He was kind of one of those kids who just came into GameStop every day, and I never knew why. And then one day he was just drawing on the counter, and I asked him to draw a picture of me, and then next thing I know, my boobs are kind of all over the page. My fault though. I did joke about that. So he drew it and was really flustered and embarrassed for like a week. Then we stopped talking for about 2 years, and then out of the blue he comes up while I'm walking home in a golf cart and just screams, "Get in!" And then I didn't know what to do, so I hopped in. And then he drove me to campus, and then a sequence of random events, we kept running into each other, and then one phone call at 6 in the morning saying, "Can I move in with you?" And I said yes. And that's when he met Michael. And we've been all together ever since. It's interesting because usually I'm not featured in anything like that. I think it's definitely an expression of his comfort level and his creativity, and it's really exciting because when something is put into his comics, it's a lot funnier in the comics than it is in real life, but that's just how it comes off because his art's just brilliant. And it's just, I think it's kind of inspiring in a sense because he plays off of our everyday humor in a way that like I just couldn't. So my favorite comic thus far, I will have to say right now, is still Baby Charles, because Baby Charles is exactly like real Charles and it's scary. Yeah. So, I think it's great, and everybody should definitely check it out. What people should definitely keep in mind is that in its simplicity, like I know that a lot of webcomics have this, like, you know, they have huge, grandiose backgrounds and very, very complex, like, websites, which they don't really need to have. In TJ's, like, simplicity in his work, I think it brings out his personality a lot more, and I think that's something people should definitely consider, because there's a lot in his comics and like a lot of humor that is played with that like a lot of other comics don't have.
I could do that. Am I exuding?